Hi Flosstube, it's Liz the In-Hand Stitcher. I am here for my next Flosstube update. It's been a little while since my last one. I went to my grandma's house for her funeral and had some good time with some family there in Missouri. I feel unprepared for this video. I feel like I just sat down and I have boxes of stuff with me that I wanted to share to show you that I got from my grandma's house. I don't have a whole lot of stitching, but I was working on a couple other things and I'll show those to you. I wanted to say thank you, first of all, for everyone that gave me their condolences for the loss of my grandma and my granddad. He passed away a couple months ago, so it's been an odd year so far. It seems like a lot of things have been happening. My brain just feels really scattered. So I've noticed watching myself on this camera and watching back some of my videos, my eyes are really, especially like when I smile, does anybody else have like weird things with their faces? It almost looks like I had a stroke or something, but that's okay. We're all made differently. Maybe I just have a tilted skull or something, I'm not sure, but just something I have to get over and not stare at and focus on my wonky eye. Sorry. All right, where do I want to start? I had giveaways last video, and so I will go ahead and start with those, get them out of the way. I had 3 giveaways. I had Johnny Jump Up, the Santa from Autumn Lane, and the Schoolboy Sampler. I plugged them into a random giveaway generator. And here are the results. You can drum roll in your head. Let's see, Johnny, we'll start with Johnny. Johnny had the most comments. There were 22 people that wanted Johnny, and my comment picker picked Emily Wittenberg. So if your name is Emily Wittenberg and you commented for Johnny, I would like for you to email me. I'll put my email address down in the description, and email me and give me your address and I will get that to you soon. Next, we'll do Santa. Santa had 12 comments and we picked, meaning the random generator and I working together, we picked Inherited Stitches. So Inherited Stitches, congratulations. Santa will be coming to you after you contact me through email with your address. I'll be sending that your way. And last of all, the Schoolboy. The winner of the Schoolboy Malon Schuler 1844 through 1845 is Rosalina Parrish. So congratulations, Rosalina, Emily, and Inherited Stitches. You are the winner of my giveaway. So, wow, I feel like I've just got right into this video. I didn't say the date. I barely said hi. Today's the 28th, April 28th, 2023. It's Friday night. My husband and my kids have just left the house. They are going to a friend's house to play video games. So I decided now is the time to get this recorded because who knows the next time I'll be home alone. So, yesterday was my daughter's birthday. She turned 12, so happy birthday to Cassidy. We had pizza. She wanted Flaming Hot, Cheetos, chocolate cake, peanut butter icing, and chocolate peanut butter cake and ice cream. And it was a good night. We enjoyed it. We'll have a proper party for her on May 6th. So Being that we just came back from the trip, I didn't want to plan a party right when we got home, so I'm gonna give myself a week or two to recuperate before I invite 20 people over to my house. So all right, what do I want to do next? Next, I would like to show you my whips that I've been working on. There are not very many of them, only 3. But let's see, they're pretty good ones. The first one I'll show you is one I showed last time that I had started on. I continued working on His Eyes on the Sparrow. And it's a big one. His Eyes on the Sparrow, I've been working here in this section. I didn't quite finish a page on it, but it was time for it to be put away because I just needed to work on something different for a little while. I took this on my trip with me to Missouri. I'll talk more about my Missouri trip after I show my pieces. There are some things to say about that trip, but I took this with me and stitched on it off and on in the car and at the hotel, and I got a little bit of progress on it, but not a whole ton of stitching was done. This is being stitched on XG Designs. I think the color, it's a 36 count. I think the color was Dapple Brown, but when I try to look up XG Designs Dapple Brown, I'm not getting any results. So I don't know if it's an old color that she doesn't make anymore, or maybe I'm just incorrect in my fabric naming. I also worked on this Doreen Jones piece. It's called Listen Wall Hanging. This is out of Just Cross Stitch magazine, October 2018. And here we go. I mostly worked a little bit in that bottom section. Maybe not even enough to really be able to tell a difference from the last time I showed it. I worked on this in the car some on our drive. When I first pulled this out, I didn't know what the fabric was. All I knew was it's a large weave. It's a crunchy, loose linen that I really dislike stitching on. It doesn't give me that really pleasant feeling that some other linens do. It's not nice and soft or thick or anything nice. So I couldn't remember what it was called. I just knew I didn't like it. But then I remembered that when I bought it from my old LNS Stitch and Stuff, that I bought it because I saw an ad on their Facebook that she had purchased too much of this fabric and she wanted to get rid of it. And that if you mention the Facebook post that you would get like $10 off of your cut or something like that. So I found their old Facebook page, scrolled back to 2018. They closed in 2019, so it wasn't too far of a scroll. And I found the post, and this linen is, oh boy, it's called Time, and it is not Zweigert, that other main company. Uh-oh, I have Flosstube brain because I knew what it was before I hit record. It is not coming to me. Not Zweigert, but the other one. Here, I'm gonna pause and think about it because I know as soon as I turn this off that I will remember, and I'll be right back and I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's 28 count Witchelt. Why can't I think of Witchelt? All right, yes, so 28 count Witchelt Time linen. I do not recommend it, but it does have really pretty modeling. And this is from 2018, so maybe in 5 years they've gotten better. I don't know. It's not my go-to fabric dyer. And I had just one more. This is a pattern that I just pulled out to work on this afternoon because I was done with his eyes on the sparrow. And this one is Blackbird Designs Christmas Garden. So even though I just pulled this out, I'm already finished with it for now. I worked just a little bit in here and in here, but I ran out of this week's straw. And when I run out of a color and I come across it in my pattern again, I will put the piece away so I don't have to skip around and not complete the section that I'm working on. So that's done for now. And after I get my my floss and it comes out again, then maybe I'll finish that page. If you're wondering what this is over here, I have a large selection of things to share with you from my grandma's house. I hope you don't mind me sharing them with you. If you're not interested when it comes to that, then you can find your next Flosstube to watch. But I really don't have a lot of stitching to share today. I do still want to share, can't get the angle right, there we go. I do still want to share with you what I'm going to be stitching on next. So I'm done with the Christmas garden, and next in my basket was Brooks Books knitting, Spirit of Knitting Angel. And I'm not going to be stitching the wings on this angel. And all I have left is the basket. So I've done all the other parts to this except for the basket. And then I'll put it together and then decide what to do with it. I'll show you where I'm at with it, what I've completed on it. Here's the sheep. I've started experimenting with cutting it out. This is my first perforated paper project, so I'm not sure what I'm doing yet, but I'll figure it out. There's a lot of beads. All this is beading. And here's a lady and some socks and a mitten. Yes, so like I said, I only have the knitting basket and then I'm done. She has several beads. I don't know why I do this, you can't see. I'll do it anyway. Okay, and also we're coming up the beginning of a new month. If you're one of my regular followers, you know that each month I work on a page for my HAID, my Heaven and Earth Design. As the Leaves Turn by Jane Wooster Scott. Here's where that's at currently. In May. I keep going back and forth if I want to continue going down. Then it kind of bothers me that I have this open spot here. Do I want to do this page and like make a square, or do I want to just keep going down and across? The original plan is to go down, so that's likely what I'll do, but I may come back in May with a different story. I think this looks really good, but it's a lot of blue. Whoops. This month, April, this page was hard for me to do. I got really tired of it and couldn't finish it soon enough. This page down here, there's just a little bit of sky right here, and then it changes to a different scene at the bottom. So I think that will be more exciting. I imagine it will be slower going because there will be more colors to change. It's not just stitch all the blue. There's going to be new symbols thrown in and new floss colors, and so it'll be fun, but it'll also take a little bit longer. Now, am I ready to share my grandma treasures, or was there something else I needed to talk about first? Like I said earlier, I am very unprepared and scatterbrained tonight. I think I'm ready to share. Yeah, we'll go ahead and share. So the main reason why I didn't have more stitching done, my grandma, her #1 hobby as she got older was quilting. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at you. I'm trying to pull this out of the bag. She was a quilter. She didn't quilt. She was a piece. She liked to piece the quilt tops, and then she would send them out to be quilted. And she and her church group of quilters would work together and make cathedral window quilts sometimes. And she left some undone. So I have been working on Grandma's cathedral windows. So when she passed away, oh, I got a big tub here. Whoops. We're a mess. When she passed away, this was her cathedral window bin. And I got the whole thing. There was more than one project in here, I think. I'll say there was more than one size square in here. So maybe the idea was have bigger squares and then maybe a border of small squares, but there were not enough of the small squares to do that. So I'm thinking that that was not the idea, and I'm just really not sure what she was doing. And unfortunately, I can't ask her. But I have been working on the small cathedral window squares. Now this is what I got out of the bag. This is what my grandma had. Each of these squares is folded a particular way, and then the corners are folded in and tacked together, and then you have a square that's like this, and then you make a bunch of them and sew them together, and then you sew that together, and you end up with something like this. And now when you make a cathedral window, you're adding a square of fabric in each of one of these squares that come together when you join your pieces, and then it's a bunch of like folding, and I'll show you. But the thing about cathedral window quilts is it's all done by hand. This is literally just needle and thread, and at least my grandma didn't use a machine. I don't know. Do you use a machine? To anyone that does cathedral windows, do you machine sew any of the squares, or is my grandma's way the way that everyone does it? I'm not sure. So I got a bunch of these blanks. I'm gonna call them blanks. And here is what I've done with them so far. So here's a section I've done, all by hand. Now, I actually didn't do all of these. I did most of these. My grandma had started. She did this one, this section right in here were a few that she had done. But most of these others I've done. Here's another section. Here's another strip. More. So this one I started sewing together but didn't quite finish. Now here's what I'm doing with this. I am 100% sure this was not Grandma's intention when she started this project. But because I didn't know what she was doing, and I can't ask her, I imagine maybe it was a pillow. But I am going to make a project bag. So here's, I haven't quite thought through everything, but here's my idea. So this is the front of the bag, and this is the opening. Okay, front. And once these are sewn together, this will be the back of the bag once it's finished. Oh, you can see here's my, these are the squares that go in each section. So I'm gonna sew all these together once I'm finished with them, and these will all be the back. I'm gonna sew the back to the front all by hand. And in my brain, I have an almost complete project bag, except where a normal zipper would be, it's just an opening. I don't want a zipper. I don't want to machine sew anything to this. I don't want to sew a zipper on it. Will it work just to have an opening that's not secured closed? I'm wondering if I need to make like a button and loop closure, or would everything be secure enough not to slide out? I haven't quite figured it all out yet, but I'm well on my way. Hopefully it works out okay, and hopefully this doesn't go back in a bag and never get finished, which might happen because I know myself. So the other project that was in this box, her big, the main event of the box. I haven't actually pulled all these out and looked at them yet, but whoa, there are a lot of, there are a lot of squares, tons of squares, tons and tons and tons of squares, bags of them. I think that the ladies in her church gathered a bunch of squares and put them in bags and gave them to her to work on. Would be my guess. So we've got lots. These are bigger. Got more blanks in a bigger size. Lots of those. more blanks. Pieces to be sewn together. Lots of squares. I imagine I have pretty close to a quilt here. If not a full quilt, then at least enough to sew together and throw over my quilt rack and never touch and ruin. That's my intention. I do not plan on putting this on a bed because I have dogs that jump on my bed with muddy feet. And Grandma worked hard on these, and they're kind of, each one of these is, you know, they're not all tacked down. They're fragile. I don't want them ripped apart. And I know Grandma was kind of precious with her, with the things that she made. She didn't like things to get used too harshly. She didn't like to ruin things that were handmade and that people put a lot of time and work into, and that's fair. When I was in high school, I had cross-stitched some little tea towels for her. They're in one of these boxes. I'll show you later. But when I went up in December for my granddad's funeral, they were still sitting on her counter. They had never been used. They were just folded in a pile and never used. So that's how she felt about handmade things. She didn't want to ruin them. She didn't want it disrespected, I guess. So with that in mind, she stitched those by hand. They're special, so I'm going to be displaying them and not using them. All right. Now the project bag I'll use because I am doing most of the work on that. So also in this, there's so much in here. So she had this bag in here and it's just tons. Oh, it smells musty. My grandma, after my granddad's funeral in December, she went to live with my aunt, and so her house was vacant since then. And honestly, I'm not sure the last time she worked on this project anyway, so it could have been years. But I have a bunch of muslin for future projects. Here's something else interesting I found at Grandma's house. A little more interesting for us, maybe. I found linen. Actually, this was meant to be something, and someone took a piece out of it for something. Looks like an apron. But if I get in close, I'm not sure if it will focus. This is stitchable linen. I'm sure it's not like cross-stitch linen. I'm sure this was not the intended purpose. But I'm going to stitch something on it because it was Grandma's. And because it's cute, it has those brown flecks in it. Something really awesome's going on there. And I have a ton of it. There was a bunch. More yards of it. All of it the same slubby, flecky, completely stitchable linen from Grandma. Okay, that's that box. Go away. Next box. Oh no, not a box. So hanging on their walls, I got some special family pictures. This frame was handmade by, I think they said this was by their neighbor at the time. He made a bunch of these handmade frames, and I'm going to show you more of them later. But here's my family. Let's see, part of my family. So granddad, grandma and granddad, they did not look like this when I knew them at all. So I do not know these people, but I do know these people and I love these people. That's my dear mom, Sandy. And that's my Aunt Sheila. That's kind of the coolest thing. So my mom was born in 57. And so I imagine this was in the 60s. Probably late 60s, maybe the very earliest of 70s. I'm not positive. Hi, Grandma. Hi, Granddad. So that's one picture, and I have one more. Oh, this one is heavy. Look at this wood. It's old. It's chunky. There's some of the same people. Here's my mom, Sandy, my Aunt Sheila, and here's my Aunt Paula. She was not in that last picture. I'm not sure if she was born. I'm not sure if my grandma was pregnant in that picture, but she is quite a bit younger than the other two. This will look nice on one of my walls, and it is heavy. Okay, family heirlooms. This box, I've got something very useful. Okay, so remember those picture frames I just showed you that were handmade? I've got some more, and they're empty. And this one's tiny. Look how little this is. I'm gonna put some cross stitch in there. And the best part is it's already got the hanger on it. It's just a little piece of cardboard in here, held on with an old staple. Easy. That'll be fun. Here's another one. What shape is this? 1, 2, 3, 4. Octagon. Maybe it could go that way. It'll look nice. Up here somewhere. Whoop. Backer. I don't know what that is. I haven't actually gone through these boxes, so I'm not sure what's in all of them. Well, I do know what's in the other ones. This box I haven't gone through. Another one. This one's a little bit bigger than the last. Look at the knot in that one. This one might be a problem. Not sure what's happening with that one yet. And a good size square. Some of these have, look at the hanger. Just a tab from a can. They were literally just stapled together. You can see daylight through them, through the miters. They're old, they're crusty, and I think they're pretty cool. Okay, so On to something made by Grandma. This was Grandma's main hobby. Like I said, she was a quilter. She had a nice big stash of finished quilts when she passed away, and she wanted the grandkids to have a couple of them each. So here's the one I picked that Grandma made. Do you know what this pattern is called? Because I have no idea. The colors are beautiful. My sister, Rebecca, got to pick her quilt before me, and we were both fighting for the same one. It was a cathedral window quilt, and because I didn't get it, she got it. My aunt felt bad for me and gave me that the box of cathedral window pieces, so I get 3 quilts. Kind of. And it's extra special. The previous cathedral window quilt is extra special because my grandma worked on it, and I'm gonna work on it, so I'm excited about that. But I love this one. The colors on this one I think were really sweet. Next quilt. So my grandma's church, they participated in something called the Festival of Sharing. And this was an auction, and they would bring quilts to auction. So the idea of the Festival of Sharing is it's a big auction, and everything that's sold, the money goes towards, I think, buying blankets for those in need, like from natural disasters, maybe the homeless, like different care packages. You know, the money would be used to render aid to those that need it. So they would go to this auction every year, and when my grandma saw a quilt up for auction that she didn't think was bringing in enough money, she thought it deserved to be sold for more than what it was going for, she would bid on it and drive up the price. So she had a stack of quilts that she hadn't made that she had purchased through the auction. So we each got to pick one of those. And here's the one that I have. And this is actually the one that I have been keeping on my bed. I literally just stripped my bed and folded the quilt to show you. You're welcome. Isn't it so cute? These are bow ties. Lots of different florals. There's also some like really bizarre. So this fabric here, what is that? I don't know what that is. Any ideas? And then also there was these like really colorful confetti, almost like that zebra bubble gum is what that reminds me of. I love this fabric. I love it. So this was stapled to it. Some information. So this it's patchwork and bow ties. The quilt story. This was made by a former church member, Myrtle Minter, and given to our women's fellowship by her family. And it's called Myrtle's Gift. So if you are part of Myrtle Minter's family and you may have donated this quilt, it's now in loving hands. All right, that's all my quilts, but I still have boxes. In this next box, will be interesting to us because my grandma did have a little bit of history with other forms of needlework. Oh, just pulled my hair out. I have this this watch band, this rubber watch band, and whenever I put my hand through my hair, it always catches on the rubber and pulls pieces of my hair out on it. I don't have enough hair to be losing that way. Okay, so this says, no matter where I serve my guests, they seem to like my kitchen best. This is a stamped cross stitch, and this was either completed by my grandma or her mother, which would be my great grandma. You can still see like it has the stamps on it. This is fairly old. Check this out. This big guy. This has to be like an 11 or a 10 count. It's very large. But that would look so neat on a narrow piece of wall. And this is yarn. It's not DMC. It's definitely some yarn that they used. And I don't know if this was my grandma. I imagine this was probably my grandma, but it could have been my great grandma. Lots of this linen. More of this linen that I shared with you earlier. So much of it. I wish I knew what the plan was for this. I don't know. My mom doesn't know. My aunt doesn't know. Got some duck patterns from Country Cross Stitch by Carolyn Shores Wright. My husband says he likes this one. Will I ever stitch it? Maybe. Wild Animals of North America. A started project on Ada. So this must have been, well, I'm not sure. Probably a deer. Maybe I'll figure out which pattern that was and pull it out and work on it some more for Grandma. DMC, old DMC for who knows what project. More DMC. Whoop, low battery. More DMC. I like these colors. Old, not the current labeling, of course. More DMC. And I didn't know this was in there. Cross Stitcher's Best Friend. I imagine I won't get around to stitching that, but who knows. Okay, so this next thing is something that my mom had something like this growing up. And I've never seen anyone on Flosstube share this. But my mom had it and my grandma had it, so that means it must, oh, there's still some loose DMC in here. That means it must have been, maybe it was a common thing, but not anymore. Tell me, did you have one of these? This is plastic. My mom had a full set of DMC. She had like 2 or 3 of these. You open it up, low ran, and there are all pre-cut DMC. You just flip it to get to the next. Lots of loose. She never finished putting them in. But I am curious how many of you had these in the day. How common were these? You ran out of low ran cards, just make your own. All you need is a hole punch and a pen. These are cool. These will be used. Smell nice and musty. If you have this, let me know. Okay. Michael's 99-cent value pack. Old fabric. But look, got this pink color in there. I think I saw blue in there. Oh, okay, I like this. It's that oatmeal. This, it almost looks like 16. Doesn't say. It just says cross stitch fabric. It doesn't give me a count. But actually this is small. So that might even be a 20. So it must just be random. So this one looks more like a 16. Those will probably find a use. Plastic canvas. Plastic canvas. Do I stitch plastic canvas? No. Will I? Maybe. Look at these guys. Look how colorful they are. Okay. You know, I didn't really know that Grandma stitched. I imagine she didn't do it much, but she does have a whip, an old one. This is the piece she was working on at some point. This magazine is from 1989, the year I was born, and I imagine she started it that year. She was apparently not an in-hand stitcher. She has this scroll frame, which I don't know much at all about. Is this right side up? Yep. So I may get around to working on this piece at some point. It's on this, it's a blue Ada. 14 or 16 count, I can't tell. But what's throwing me off, this fabric is stapled to the frame. Is that normal? And it's stapled pretty closely to the stitching. So what, do I just cut it off and hope for the best? I don't know. There's quite a bit of fabric on this bottom part of the roll. Is it even a roll? Does it move? I don't know. I don't know anything about that, but it's interesting. I'll pull it out later and mess with it. Okay, here are the towels that I made for my grandma when I was in high school. I was either in high school or just graduated from high school, and I can still hear the original Star Trek that I was watching when I made them. I would just sit on my bed. I had a little TV with a DVD player in it, and my dad had all the original Star Trek DVDs, and I would just put them in, listen to the whirring and the beeping, and stitch all day and all night, whatever I wanted to do. And so here's what I would stitch on. This is flower cloth that I would get in like packs of 5 from Walmart. This is folded in half. I would fold it in half. I sewed around the edges to make it into a towel size. And then I would take waste canvas and attach it. I would baste it on to the flower cloth, and I would stitch on the waste canvas. So even before I knew that linen was a thing, I was still trying to not stitch on Aida. I liked the look of it on, this is cotton. I liked the look of it on regular fabric. So here's one of them. Grandma just had these folded up in a pile on her counter. Never used. Here's another one. Poppy. These were all done with waste canvas. And waste canvas, at least what I used in the day, was not fun to pull out. And the older it gets, the worse it is to pull out. Maybe it's different now. Maybe it's better than it used to be, but it would always snap. And I'd have to try to get these little teeny tiny bits out, and they'd always be stuck. And here's my last one. This one reminded me of my grandma for some reason. Okay, this video is getting long, and I still have more boxes. I'll have to be more picky. This is something my mom painted when she was in high school. In school, she didn't make the shape. She just glazed it and gave it to my grandma. So this will now be a sponge holder in my kitchen. Grandma's old Bible. I think this was Grandma's Bible. Complete with old picture. It says Wes and Gladys. I'm thinking that's a great grandma, a great granddad. I don't know. Piece of something. Lots of little handmade things, placemats, old picnic rolls. This is where you'd keep your silverware, and you'd put your plates in it and fold it and tie it. More DMC. Invisible thread. This will come in handy for beading. Cookie cutters that my grandma used to use when my mom was little. Lots of them. There's more DMC, more cookie cutters in there. This is a dollhouse my grandma made for me and my sister when I was little. She made the house. She made every piece of furniture. She made the people, she made the car, she made the picnic table. Where is it today? I have no idea. Do I miss it and love it? Yes. Will I make one for myself just because? Maybe. Am I well on my way with supplies from Grandma's house? You know I am. All right. I've got 2 more boxes, but they are smaller boxes and there's not as much in them, so this should go fairly quickly. All of the hot glue and hot glue guns. A very old vintage plastic church that lights up for Christmas, has stained glass windows. I said no until I saw it plugged in, and then I said yes. It's beautiful. Ornaments. I won't show you every ornament, but fish. Fish. Are these still in the wrapper and the bag from when she bought them? Yes. Fish. Did she buy every fish ornament in the store? I believe she did. My granddad loved fishing. That was his hobby. He fished and he restored old cars. He had a 57, I think it was a Bel Air, and a 70-something Ranchero. A bunch of these glass baubles. There's a whole box of them. This handmade angel thing. No, it's not an angel. It doesn't have wings. Even better. I haven't actually gone through this box of ornaments, and I'm not necessarily going to right now. But lots of old ornaments. That's a box. Now that means I've got 1 more. And there are some special things in here. So apparently my grandma embroidered. I do not embroider, but I think I might have to learn how to because she started, she didn't finish. Does anybody know how to do this? Can someone help me? I know I can't do it in hand. I have to hoop that. Old Hirschner's general instructions. I think this goes with that project, but I don't know. I'll look closer later. Okay. Another reason to learn embroidery. This side I think is done. And then this side, oh, why didn't you finish it? Now I have to learn how, because it's beautiful. I love these birds. This just screams 50s to me. I don't know when she did it. but I need more information. But nobody knows. Maybe someone on Flosstube recognizes these. More DMC. This isn't started. Okay, that's all the needlework. The only thing left is a little bit of Christmas. My grandma loved Christmas. Unfortunately, I never was at her house at Christmas. I was only at her house that she lived in for the last almost 30 years. 3, maybe 4 times, because I did not live close to her. She lived halfway around the country. She lived 1,000 miles away from me. And we just never were able to make it out. So unfortunately, I never got to see her house decorated for Christmas. But I'll get to pretend like I saw it because I'll get to decorate my house with her things. Old ornaments. I think these are shiny brights. They look like it to me. These two here. Oh, I don't know. These are all glass. Handmade glass balls. Ooh. Made by the finest craftsmen of Europe. And more. Oh, they're so sweet. That's a shiny bright, right? I love them. And I know I'm going to break half of them if I try to put them on my tree because my dogs knock them off. Do I display them and let them get broken? Or do I hide them away forever and never get to look at them? I don't know. So when I was at when my grandma came to my house to visit, the first time she came to this house, she walked in and she says, "Oh, I thought you lived in the country." Like she was really disappointed, or maybe not disappointed, but maybe confused. I say I live in the country. I live in farmland. I have Amish neighbors out my backyard. I have chickens. There's horses, cows right there. On this side of my house, I live in a development. I've got neighbors, 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 neighbors. My house was built in the 80s. It's a stamped bi-level house in a neighborhood of bi-level houses. That side is country. And I didn't understand my grandma when she was saying, "I thought you lived in the country." Like, you're basically in the city here. That is until I took my family out to her house this trip. And like I said, 1,000 miles away, down Route 70. Basically, she lived in Wheatland, Missouri. And off of the road, she lived in this really small town. Regular roads. You take a right onto a stone road, travel about a mile, turn left on another stone road, travel maybe half a mile, turn right on a dirt road. You see a house. It's basically turned into a dump. So the man that owns this house that I'm talking about was a hoarder. He'd fill the house with stuff, fill the yard with stuff, and then he left to another house, which he filled with stuff, and then he'd leave to another house, and okay, so you got that house. Go a little bit farther down this dirt road, woods on both sides. It's my grandma's house. It's my grandma and granddad's house. They had 16 acres. You can go a little bit farther down this dirt road, and there's one more person, and he'll shoot you if you go on his land. So I don't live in the country. I'm a city girl, I guess, but I understand my grandma, okay? She lived in the country. She had a beautiful property, huge old lilacs. Her yard was covered with irises and bulbs. A grapevine that was there before she bought the place 30 years ago, still producing grapes, gooseberries, I think raspberries. Beautiful property. But I'll never get to go there again, unfortunately. But I love my grandma, I love my granddad. I've got plenty of memories. They would always come down for important things. At least once a year they'd visit us. They came for every graduation, every wedding. So we saw them, but unfortunately we didn't get to go and visit them very often. But with that, visit your grandparents. Grandparents, tell your grandkids what you're working on and how to finish it. Not to be morbid, but I would have loved for my grandma to show me how to do these things, and now I have to figure it out myself. Spend time with your family. Tell them you love them. Give everyone a hug every time you leave. And with that, have a very good week, and I'll see you next time.